Welcome back. We're on deck. Special guest today is Aristotle. Aristotle, you want to say hello? Aristotle says, Shelby, you want to say hello? We have Shelby and Aristotle. Full house. See how many times you need this guy as we go through this. See if I remind you of this guy. I'm kind of thinking not. So, Exam 79, questions 1 through 6 is what we're going to try to accomplish in this segment. Again, the goal here is to demonstrate at a brief. So if you've taken this section and you're going over it, let's go over it together. Question number 1, the issue presented. Which one of the following is true? Most helps to resolve the apparent discrepancy. The issue presented is a paradox. Got it. Now I go to my slash marks. I have my slash marks there. Okay, here comes the argument, which of course is the law. After a major toll highway introduced a system of electronic toll paying, delays at all of its interchanges declined significantly. I got it. I'm ready to proceed. Travel time per car trip decreased by an average of 10%. I got it. I'm ready. Tailpipe pollution for each trip decreased commensurately. You lost? I'm not lost. No, neither one of us. He lost. He said yes, but he meant no. Neither one of us lost. Despite this, the total air pollution from vehicles on that highway did not decrease measurably, and therein lies the paradox. The final sentence is the paradox. How is it we put in this electronic toll system? That's what we're told. We're told that the average trip declines by 10%, the average tailgate pollution falls by 10%, and then we're told, well, wait a minute, the total pollution went up. If you don't do the analysis when you're at this point, you're really the prisoner of the writer. Come on, is it really that hard to figure out that there are more cars on the road? That's what would explain the paradox? I'm done. Now let me find the answer choice that basically says there are more cars on the road. And then go directly to the credited answer choice. Right? And it's C. The prospect of a faster, more convenient the prospect of faster, more convenient travel induced more drivers to use the highway. Hello? Now, you get it? Like you're 100%, you would, maybe on the test you would have seen choice C, and maybe you would have pulled the trigger and moved to question number 2. And maybe that wouldn't be a poor choice because the analysis had been done in advance. Now, let's go look at A, B, D, and E. A. The highway began charging higher tolls when it switched to electronic toll paying. Help me out on that one. When the tolls went up, I would think fewer cars would be on it. So let's say A is dumb. Don't do that again if you picked A. B. Even after the switch to electronic toll paying, there were sometimes long delays at the highway's interchange. Well, that's great, except the first sentence says that delays declined overall significantly. So answer choice B is refuted by the law presented, which is it's not relevant that there were sometimes long delays. What's relevant is what happened overall. And sentence number 1 tells you that. D, travel time on highway for car trips under 18.6 miles did not decrease appreciably. Okay, how about sentence number 2 says travel time overall decreased by 10%. It's not relevant that travel time did not decrease significantly at 18.6 miles or less. It's significant that travel time overall decreased 10%. Again, refuted by the law presented. So choice D is wrong. E, some drivers did not switch to the electronic system, but instead continued to use cash to pay their tolls at toll booths. Okay. And how exactly does that resolve the paradox that air pollution did not
decreased measurably because perhaps some were, some were paying, the dopes, right? They're still paying cash. Doesn't that mean others were using the electronic toll? Doesn't that mean that it should have gone down, the overall air pollution? Okay. So the question number one is C. I don't think it's a heavy lift. Prepare, it's prepare to prevail. Prepare to look at an answer choice, say, you know what, I'm going to be an attorney. I have to make choices. Seize it, I'm gone. Question number two. The reasoning in the argument is flawed. Is it fair to say we're directed to the reasoning, right? So it'd be kind of helpful to be able to distinguish a conclusion from the reasoning. Well, let me read it. The reasoning is flawed. Here goes. Slash marks. A lack of trust in one's neighbors leads to the lack of respect for the law. Sounds like a conclusion to me, right? Something you need to explain. That a lack of trust in my neighbors, which are here and here, right, leads to a lack of respect for the law. That's the conclusion, but I was directed to the reasoning. Here comes the reasoning. A new study provides compelling evidence to this. Guess I'm going to read about the new study now. Neighborhoods in which people routinely lock their door, okay, have higher burglary rates than neighborhoods in which people do not routinely lock their doors. So that reasoning has to do with the relationship between my locking my door and the burglary rate. That is the reasoning. It's cause and effect, right? This suggests that when I lock my door, right, I get a higher burglary rate. When somebody else does not lock their door, they do not get a higher burglary rate. You get cause and effect. Cause and effect presented to you in a flaw situation means either they have reversed the cause and effect, so the effect is actually the cause, or there's a third factor responsible for both. So here, it would scream out at me that the burglary rate's not going up because I locked my door. In fact, I locked my door because the burglary rate was high. So I'm seeing the cause and effect being reversed here. And I'm stopped, I'm done. Now go to E. And E says that the reasoning is flawed in that it treats what could be the effect of something as if it were the cause of that thing. And it's on all fours. That's exactly right. It's treating the increased burglary effect the increased burglary rate as the effect, as the thing that happened, that was the result, when in fact it could have been the cause. You're going to get tested on this. E's the answer. Just get it. Now, having gotten it, you look at A, B, and C, and D. A, treat something that is merely sufficient to produce a result as if it were necessary to produce that result. Doesn't treat anything as though it's sufficient to produce a result, because it's not. It's in a flaw argument. It's saying it's not in any way, manner, shape, or form sufficient to produce the result. No. But you've got to understand the richness of the concepts of sufficient and necessary conditions. And if you don't have the parameters of this already worked out in your mind when you leave the argument, you're going to look at A and you're going to start analyzing A. There was nothing in my analysis when I finished reading the law that had to do with necessary and sufficient conditions. Nothing. And so when I went to the answer choices, that's not what I'm looking for. But if you don't do that analysis, now you stop at A and you're dead. I mean, unless, for the most part, you're dead. So, not A. B, draws a moral conclusion from evidence that could only support a factual conclusion. I hope you didn't choose B, but if you do so, don't do it again. There's nothing in here about morality. C, bases its conclusion on data that are contradictory. The study is not contradictory. The study is whatever the study is. It shows the relationship, shows a correlation. It just doesn't show the cause and effect. D, asserts in a premise what it's trying to establish in its conclusion. No, its conclusion is that first sentence, and that is not at all stated in the premises that are offered. So the answer to question number 2 is E. Question number 3, which one of the following most helps to resolve the apparent discrepancy in the information above? So 3 is essentially the same as question number 1. Put your slash marks in, and it says, in recent decades, government efforts to fight counterfeiting have been extremely successful. especially efforts to remove counterfeit bills from circulation. Okay, so government efforts have been extremely successful in removing counterfeit bills from circulation. Next sentence. Yet counterfeiters are not finding it all difficult to get away with passing counterfeit bills to merchants and even banks. And that's the paradox. If the government has been extremely successful in removing counterfeit bills from circulation, right? That's a fact. How do we go from that to, and yet counterfeiters are not finding it all difficult to pass these bills to merchants and even banks. And so the paradox to be resolved has to deal with merchants and banks. Got to be the case. Okay, why? So I say, so merchants and banks are engaging in some kind of activity that are causing them to miss these counterfeit bills. I'm done. That's it. Good night, lights out. Now, if I was taking the test, it's A, B, C, D, and E. But I'm not taking the test. I'm preparing to take the fucking test, right? So I'm gonna look. Here's the answer. The answer is D. Government success in removing counterfeit bills from circulation has caused merchants and bank tellers to become lax in checking for counterfeit bills. Sounds pretty good to me. So I'm liking D, I'm fine with D. Let's read the other choices. A. Government information campaigns that teach merchants and bank tellers how to detect counterfeit bills are more effective than ever. Shoot me. I mean, if you read that, you couldn't, if you chose A, you so didn't read textually. You so didn't read with attention or care. A just makes the whole situation worse. It doesn't explain it at all. B, governments are continually developing new currency designs with features that are difficult for criminals to counterfeit. What has that got to do with merchants and banks? So no. C, counterfeiters are generally unaware that the percentage of fake bills in circulation is the lowest it has ever been. What has that got to do with merchants and banks? You want to be attorneys. It's like, what is the fucking issue? Merchants and banks. D, governments are spending larger and larger sums of money in their efforts to remove counterfeit bills from circulation. Duh. I mean, again, what has that got to do with merchants and banks? This is not a content-driven test. You've got to read textually. Question number 4. Which one of the following is an assumption required by the argument? So again, if you haven't done that initial work, if you really don't fully understand what an assumption is, you're dead. So I have my slash marks, and now I'm looking for a necessary assumption. Statement that must be true for the conclusion to be valid. Conclusion. Okay. Here we go. If a civilization as technologically advanced as human civilization existed on another planet, and that planet were within 50 light years of Earth, that civilization would have found evidence of intelligent life on Earth and could have easily contacted us. Okay, sounds like it's given to us as a premise, a long premise, but I get it. I would be slowing down anytime I saw punctuation or where I saw it in the, with and or an or. But I got it. Okay, so if they're within 50 million light years of here, right, that we're told here, they could have easily contacted us, and that civilization would have found evidence of intelligent life here. Got it. Scientists can thus rule out the possibility of finding a civilization as technologically advanced as our own within 50 light years of Earth. So the conclusion is they're not there. And you say, well, okay, that's your conclusion, right? So that's what I care about. They're not there. There is no scientifically advanced civilization within 50 light years of Earth. And you say that's your conclusion. And what assumption does that require? Here you go, here's this guy, right? Here you go. You know what that requires? For that statement to be true, they got to pick up the phone on the other end, right? You say, well, that they can contact us, right? Okay, does that mean they will contact us? So the conclusion is they're not there. The evidence in support of that is because they could contact us and have not. And the assumption, of course, is, hello, maybe they don't want to contact us. So the assumption there is that if they had the ability to contact us, which the facts tell us they do, they would contact us. That's it. I'm done. Now, go directly to the credited answer choice. And here it's D. A technologically advanced civilization on another planet would want to communicate with intelligent life that it detected on Earth. That is a statement that must be true for the conclusion to be valid. If that were false and they didn't want to contact us, they could still be there. Right? And the conclusion would be wrong. So D, go, look, nobody cares what you think. The way you reason is no longer relevant. You're going to be an attorney, so you have to reason the way the writer reasons, right? And the writer is testing your ability to reason clinically. That is to say, this is the law, yeah, I don't argue with it. Here's what I want to find out about it. What is that thing, right? So, that's it. Now with D, fully understand, you say, does this statement have to be true for the conclusion to be valid? The conclusion is, they're not out there. A, scientists who are searching for evidence of extraterrestrial life forms generally focus their search on evidence of technologically advanced life forms. Who cares? Okay, yes, say yes, they do. What does that got to do with if they're out there? They're not out there, right? They're actually not out there because they haven't contacted us. B, there is no reason to doubt the possibility that there are technologically advanced civilizations on planets more than 50 light years from Earth. But that's got nothing to do with this argument. So again, you can take real life and say, well, oh yeah, that's true, but that's not, you're not being tested in real life. That does not explain, right? That is not a statement that is required to support the conclusion that if they're within 50 million, they would have contacted us. C, if scientists receive a message from a technologically advanced civilization on another planet, they would be able to decipher it fully. Well, C is kind of tracked. I like C until we get to the word fully. Because if you look at C, right, it says, well, because the conclusion here is they would contact us. Okay, and so I suppose we can rule that out because we haven't been contacted. I suppose you could say that would require us to be able to decipher whatever the communication was, but not decipher it fully. There's no requirement here. Again, C says if we receive the message from a technologically advanced civilization on another planet, we would be able to decipher it fully. The word fully to me just, no, we don't, there's no requirement that it be deciphered fully. Appears to be a requirement we be able to acknowledge we got that message back. But certainly not fully. And then E, intelligent life forms on other planets would be able to recognize all signs of intelligent life on Earth. I mean, that's just dumb. Read that again. Intelligent life forms on other planets, which takes us, all other planets, right, would be able to recognize all signs, every sign. There's simply no requirement that they'd be able to recognize all forms of intelligent life. So the answer to number 4 is D, and again, assumptions, there can only be one credited answer. So if you get the D, if you have done the correct analysis, pull the trigger and get out of there. Let's take a look at number 5. Number 5, which one of the following most helps to resolve the apparent conflict described above? That's our third apparent conflict, or our third kind of paradox-related issue. Slash marks and now analysis. Recently, many traffic lights and street markings were temporarily removed from a heavily traveled street in a major metropolitan area. I don't need this guy, right? I mean, okay, we took the stop signs down, we took the traffic lights down, and we're in Times Square. Given that this street experienced significant volumes of automobile traffic, the number of accidents on the street was expected to increase. I got it? I got it. However, even though the street experienced no reduction in traffic with the same amount of traffic, the number of accidents was greatly reduced. Okay, and that's the paradox. How come, traffic remains constant, we lose the traffic lights, we lose the street markings, and yet the number of accidents is significantly reduced? I don't know about you. So if you need this guy, I'm kind of thinking people drove more carefully. Like if you have a snowstorm, right? People drive more carefully because they do. So I'm done. People drive more carefully. Now, go to the credited answer choice. B. The lack of traffic signs and street markings cause drivers to drive more cautiously. Help me out here. Sound about right? Yeah. Again, I stress a bunch of this test, whatever that percent is, whether it's 35% or 45%, a bunch of this test, you're at risk of overthinking stuff, saying, no, it can't be that straightforward. A bunch of this test is straightforward. And I think for me, that's an example. Again, if you're struggling with it, that's fine. For Peter, just like, you got to be kidding me, because I can see that. Okay, so I'm done, right? Let's look at the competition. A, people often disregard traffic lights and street markings. Okay. How would that explain that the number of accidents was greatly reduced? Wouldn't it? I mean, it would stay the same, I guess. Like if they weren't paying attention to them anyway, wouldn't it stay the same? And here it says they often disregard, which means sometimes they don't disregard. So A is not explaining it. C, most drivers were not aware that the traffic lights and street markings had been removed. What do you mean you weren't aware of it? I mean, most drivers were not aware that they had, so they thought they were there? That's not working. How about that's Shelby, we're on deck. Come here. Shelby. Hey, come here. Say hello to everyone. This is Shelby. Shelby is a little upset because the neighbor dogs are out. Shelby. Now Shelby's going back inside. Thank you, Shelby. So D, traffic lights and street markings are intended to have benefits in addition to those related to safety. Who cares that they have benefits in addition to safety? The paradox is you took them down. You had the same amount of traffic. And yet accidents went way down. And E, now E I like. If you picked E, it's hug time. E I really like. E says drivers were given advance notice that the traffic lights and the street markings would be removed. That's beautiful. Because it seems to me, right, you would think about that and say, well, yeah, we were given advance notice that they're gone, and so we would think in advance that we wanted to drive more carefully, right? And wouldn't that take you to answer choice B, which says we drove more cautiously? So the answer there is what E does is it takes you to B, and B is the answer that we just drove more cautiously. Again, a lot of this is common sense. And let's take the exit question for this segment, question number 6. The reasoning in the argument, the reasoning in the argument described above is most vulnerable. So we're looking at a flaw on the grounds that, so again, you see how it says the reasoning. So be aware it says the reasoning in the argument. See what we got here. So let's see if we can even spot the reasoning. Some have argued that body size influences mating decisions throughout all societies. Okay, I'd want an explanation of that, right? So if you say that body size influences mating decisions throughout all societies, all of the I'm saying, could you tell me why? And again, when you say, could you tell me why, you probably just read a conclusion. And here's the why, which is the reasoning. The argument rests largely on self-reports of university-age students, a particular group, university-age students, and on analyses of personal advertisement in newspapers for dating partners. So would it be fair to say the conclusion is resting on two groups, one group being university-age students and the second group being those who put personal advertisements in newspapers? Might that not be, since the conclusion is that body size influence mating decisions throughout all societies, might that not be two of the most representative groups to talk about how body size influences mating decisions throughout all societies? And so that's where my mind would go. Would go to the it's not a representative sample of all the different groups in society, all societies. Stop, look at the coordinate answer choice, which is B. It bases a conclusion, that's that first sentence, on a sample that may be unrepresentative of the population about which the conclusion is drawn. And yes, that again, it's not to say that university-age students or that folks who put personal advertisement in newspapers for dating partners is not to say that they wouldn't be part of this, but that they compose the entirety of it. No. So B, I'm fine. I'd be gone. A, it concludes that one kind of event causes another kind of event, without ruling out the possibility that both kinds of events are the result of a third kind of event. And that's a great answer if you've been presented with a situation where you have maybe you have somebody who is very sick, and they may have high blood pressure, and the high blood pressure may have made them very sick. May also be anemic, and the anemia may have made them very sick. And those are two separate causes that could have brought about the being very sick. Or you're very sick, and let me reverse that. You're very sick, and then you end up having anemia, or you're very sick, and you end up having high blood pressure or something. But it's not the high blood pressure causing anemia. It's not the anemia causing the high blood pressure. It's that you're very sick, and it's causing both. That's where A is going. That's not this argument. Again, if you leave the law without forming the, wait a minute, this is an unrepresentative sample, you're pretty much toast. C, it concludes that in effect has only one cause in the face of evidence that the effect has multiple causes. Again, I don't even know where to go with that. This is not about cause and effect. If you have missed this is an unrepresentative sample, you're absolutely toast. D, it uses a claim that applies only to entire societies to draw a conclusion about the individual persons. It's the reverse of that. The conclusion is about entire societies, and the evidence is about these two groups. And E, draws a universal conclusion on the basis of a very small number of individual cases. And no, E will be the answer choice when what they're testing for is not that something is unrepresentative. Unrepresentative is in B. This is you've underrepresented. In other words, you just don't have enough people. You don't have enough sample to, you're just simply too few participants to draw this conclusion. So this is not a question of there's a very small number of individual cases. There may be a ton of university-age students and a ton of people who placed the ads, but they're not representative groups when you're talking about all groups in all societies. So the answer in question number 6 is B for Brutus.